Hello, folks. Hey there. My name is Bernadette Smith. My pronouns are she and her. Welcome to 5 Things in 15 Minutes, my weekly show where I bring good vibes to DEI. That is good vibes to diversity, equity, and inclusion with a little dash of corporate social responsibility. What I've found is that there are lots of news stories about what's going wrong in the world and lots of negative data. But there are also a lot of things going right. That's what I like to focus on. I search for DEI stories that we can be inspired by and learn from. My hope is to inspire you to experiment with some of these inclusive actions and policies within your own organization to help you build a more inclusive world. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Latia Vaughan, Futurist, CEO, and founder of the U Network. This week, our conversation is about inclusive bridal dresses, racial diversity at the box office, Walmart's management training, and more. Let's get started. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is where the crowd goes.
That's right.
I'm so glad to be here. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Awesome. I'm thrilled that you're here. Welcome. Would you please tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Latia Vaughan. I am a futurist, also known as the Dream Pusher. I have been in the work of management development, training development, business and branding for over 20 years. And everything that we do focuses on evolution of self or evolution of business. And so I think this is the perfect time for us to have these conversations about what is happening in the world and how we can evolve to our best selves, into our highest selves, into ourselves that allows us to be our full selves. So I'm super excited about today.
I am so excited to have you, and especially because you're a futurist. I'll tell you, you are my first futurist on the show. I think that you're probably a very rare profession, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say, especially because one of the conversations I've been having lately with folks is sort of about this DEI retraction. Are we going through, kind of, there's headlines about pushback, all of that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm an optimist, so that's not really what I'm seeing, and that's not what I think is the future. But I would love to hear from you. Like, what do you see as the future of DEI?
Well, I always look at what is possible, what is probable, and what is preferable. Okay. So let's look at what is preferable. We have entered into the season. Our evolution goes in waves. So if we started looking at opportunities for those who are diverse, whatever their definition of diverse is, it has been an uphill climb to get into certain areas, seats of positions. But what you have found in corporate structures that have truly not embraced the heart of diversity, it is viewed as a checklist. And so therefore you will hire people based on a checklist, but there becomes a bottleneck in the funnel of upward mobility because there's nobody to walk them through the ranks of growth, of personal professional development, of posturing them for greater expansion. So even when we look at women were not even allowed to own a business until 1988. We had, and not pause. 88. Okay. Women were not even allowed to own. They had to have a co-signer. So the like the optimism that you see and that I have saw in the past, that yes, there is this upward climb. When I first started in corporate America, there were small clauses that dealt with what they deemed was professional, and having your hair natural or curly as a Black woman or African, they were not deemed as acceptable. So, but now we look at today, now there are more people putting policies in place to be more accepting. So I always embrace the optimism, but I always look at where are the holes and the gaps and how can we fill them. So, and not only how can we fill them, how can we also teach our leadership and high structures their blind spots so that it is not just a checklist, but they truly have a place where people feel that they belong, because that's where the retention comes at the end of the day. So I also optimistic. However, you start to see, if we're just having a real raw and honest conversation, people and companies that have truly not embraced diversity, that's kind of where the monster kind of peeks its head back out and tries to throw things to try to bring that evolutionary line back. But we're not going to let them bring that evolutionary line back. Okay. We're going to keep those people in place and putting them in places of leadership so that we can keep moving it forward despite what anybody may feel or think.
Yeah, no, I think that's really key. I mean, and I own that my optimism is informed in part because of my privilege. So my white privilege. So I absolutely own that. But I think that you're right in that there's a really a big opportunity for DEI to, at least part of DEI, to become something that's just the normal part of leadership development, right? And the professional development process for underrepresented folks in particular, really making sure that they have the support, they have the mentors, as you were saying. And it's something that's part of the talent development life cycle, right? All of the talent development life cycle.
Yeah. And I would really love if we also expand our palette to what diversity is. It is also beyond just the race, sexual orientation. It's also when we look at disabilities, right? And I was having a talk when I was in San Diego at a venture summit, and I was the keynote speaker. But on the panel, we're talking about adding more diversity in the boardroom, and also those who have disabilities. That's also part of the landscape. And I was listening to a profound talk where we were looking at studies, even those who are on the spectrum, right? And not forcing them into a role. Oftentimes those who are extroverted would be granted opportunities for advancement and promotion, and they would neglect the genius of levels that those who may be on the spectrum could have, that could really advance the corporate environment. And also creating policies around that in DEI to where I don't have to be someone I'm not, right? Like I can contribute my genius and then be, right? I just want to contribute and be. And so if we could also expand our palette to what that means, I think we can also create more policies and procedures to where there are more people also still not feeling left out of playing with people.
And I think that's an excellent point, and it kind of goes to the theme of this week's newsletter, which is code switching. And I just shared a story about a new consulting client we have here at the firm, in which they're a law school, and so in preparation for the kickoff meeting, I had to change my language, anything to decorporatize it. They wanted me to make sure I had buy-in with the academics, so I was changing my language from employees to faculty and staff, et cetera. And after the kickoff meeting, as I was leaving, my contacts were like, "Oh, you did a good job of decorporatizing things." And I said, I know how to code switch. And that's something that we learn as underrepresented folks. We learn how to change how we are to be perhaps more palatable for certain audiences. And I think that's kind of what you were saying, is we just want to do our work and be, and not even have to worry about code switching or making ourselves fit into some sort of rigid box.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And you find that so much, even, in the African American community as well. There's countless stories of where we have to show up one way and leave out another. And I truly believe that we should be able to live our lives. And you look at how many hours in a day we're spending at work, that there should be success and fulfillment. And if the only way I can be a part of your environment where I'm making you so much money, right, for your organization, and I cannot feel fulfilled, right? I think that is something that we should adjust now. And with that, I would also see on the back end that there's a difference between being myself and being relevant, but also still remaining professional, right? So I think it's just kind of looking at what those lines of what is deemed as professional and allowing people to play within those confines of their professionalism, but not allowing us to have to come in rigid and strict. And if there's a million of the same person, child, that is so boring. Okay.
Exactly.
But that's the beauty, is in diversity of ideas, of thought, of experiences. And I think that is the enrichment that we bring to corporations.
That's exactly right. And I want to give my son a shout out because he is apparently off school. He is off school today and he's apparently watching on YouTube. So
Oh.
Patrick, he put a little comment here. So
Hi, Patrick.
I will share that he's been listening. So
Good,
very
good.
cool. All right. No, I think I completely agree with everything that you just said. But let's move into this week's good vibes.
Let's do it.
The first story this week comes from the Hollywood Diversity Report from UCLA, which reveals that movies with casts reflecting real world racial diversity, which is what we were just talking about, basically, have a higher ROI. They are making more money. So films with 41% to 50% BIPOC casts led to the highest median return on investment, while less diverse movies yielded lower returns.
Yeah.
Seems so obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So tag me in. Ready? Let's do it. Okay. So it seems super obvious, okay? And I had a conversation before. I love the fact that there are, for those of you who may be listening or tuning in after, casting more people that has that, more broader DEI spectrum, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and to match the audience that come in. But I would also take it a step further in also making sure that we also address those who are working behind the lens as well. That diversity is also represented because that plays in part how the story is told.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I went to a major corporation. I will not say who they are, but they were going through a major task. We had some crisis management because hip hop and R&B. Hip hop is the #1 genre in the world. Okay, so they had these major marketing campaigns, and yet they would not promote any person of color to lead some of these marketing campaigns. Not even all, it was none. Okay.
Wow.
So there was a major divide right there to allow those who could also help shape and tell that narrative from a truthful and honest place, allowing them that opportunity to even be promoted or advanced or to take part into some of those promotional activities. So if we go back to the movie, I applaud, yes, we applaud the industry for having that diversity. But I would also look at the landscape. And you know what it reminds me, Bernadette? It reminds me of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ava DuVernay.
Oh, of course.
Yes, amazing, brilliant, powerful. Just this woman exudes just a grace and power, and her stance and her storytelling is amazing. And so when we look at, even what this article talks about, how over $100 million primarily goes to white males that are leading the charge for these movies, off top for their funding. And I thought back to her story when she was producing the movie Origin. Make sure everyone checks it out. It is a powerful display. It is a powerful display. I was looking at her story, and she was talking about in an interview how, because there was such trouble in sourcing the movie's funding, that she had to go outside of sourcing to go to, I believe it was like the Ford Foundation and a few other places to even get funding to tell the storyline, a beautiful storyline that deals with diversity and how we came to be. And so that's my take. What do you think? I think we also need to match it on the back end behind.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And in fact, the Oscars have standards for behind the scenes in order to be eligible for Oscars. So they have put something in place, but it's a pretty low bar. So, there's work being done. There's always more work to do. I can't wait to see Origin when it comes out on streaming. I haven't seen it yet. And I'm a huge fan of Ava DuVernay. If anyone hasn't listened to or read an interview with her, she is very inspiring. And she does a lot to uplift people behind the camera. I mean, that's how she got her chance. Someone took a chance on her, and that's how she has been continuing to pay it forward.
Yeah. And telling those stories from underrepresented communities, and just her telling the stories about how many history books was destroyed and eradicated. just from them to allow people to learn their history. It's powerful, powerful, powerful. So yes, I agree. It may have been a low bar, but let's keep raising it, right? And keep
That's
putting
right.
things
And
so
when
that we
when it
can.
raises, of course, you'll be able to hear about it in five
Yes.
things. All right. So the
Mm.
next story this week is from Tyson Foods, which is partnering with the Tent Partnership for Refugees to hire migrants. They are planning to employ an additional 42,000 immigrants in New York, which is really helpful because these
Yeah.
poor folks are traveling up from South America in
Yeah.
horribly oppressive conditions
Yep.
just for a better shot here. And I'm just grateful that the Tent Partnership exists to create
Yeah.
opportunities and that Tyson is taking a chance on these folks. They're really investing in retention, legal aid, citizenship assistance. I mean, they want to do it right.
Yep. Yeah. And I love that. And if they ever asked for 5 cents, 2 cents to add to it, one of the things that I would love to see in that great work is also form like an educational component,
I'm sure.
and leadership development component
Mhm.
through, because a lot of corporations, we have leadership tracks, right? And
Mhm.
ways for people to further their education. And that may be in the works. Maybe they have not, publicly displayed that, but I think that would be that sweet cherry on the top to
That's
say,
right.
okay, once we're here, I know, the positions is what they've been saying in the media, may not be the favorable positions that people would
No,
want. But once you're here, people want to take care of their family. They just want that shot. And if once they're here and they're onboarded, allowing them those who want to grow and expand within the company, I think will be a wonderful opportunity.
I sure hope that they do that. I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that they will. I have a feeling, but I haven't seen that published either.
Yeah.
Okay, the third story this week comes from Florida, where there was a
Mhm.
settlement over the Don't Say Gay law.
Yeah.
That means that LGBTQ topics can actually still be discussed in classrooms. So a
Mhm.
resolution has been added clarifying that the law does not prohibit LGBTQ plus references or anti-bullying measures. So the
Yeah.
law is still in place. The way it's being enforced is changed, and that is
Mhm.
really good news.
And the thing that makes it so great, I always say this all the time, is that every child, every growing, adolescent needs a safe space to explore and to evolve and to grow and to even ask questions. There was a study that says that the two places that children feel shame first is either in school or home or religious environment. Okay, that's where their first expression of shame comes from.
Mm.
And so if we can put things in place that will allow children to ask questions, to, now in terms of the age factor, that's the only part I did not learn about the bill yet. I have not read the entire bill, was in terms of talking about sex, in kindergarten and sexual preference
I
in
don't think it's
kindergarten.
that. No, it's
Okay.
more about being open to different types for people to have be honest about their different family structures at home,
Yeah.
right? I think that was a really big concern is that kids couldn't talk about that they had 2 dads or 2 moms
Yeah.
even in the classroom because it wasn't just about the way the law was worded was that it wasn't just about sort of educational discourse, but even just conversation. And now,
Mm,
that's clarified. So, that to me
got
takes
it.
away a lot of that stigma and shame, right?
Yeah. 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 We have to make sure that we empower the kids to grow into who they want to be, grow into who they're supposed to be, and have that support. For me, that's what it comes down to, that children have the support when you look at the suicide rates,
Yeah,
for whatever it is that they're going through.
that's right.
So yes.
Good news. All right, the fourth story this week comes from designers like Brides by Nona and Alunco, which are leading a shift towards inclusive wedding attire, offering diverse skin tone options without extra charges. Because in
Mhm.
the bridal industry, women of color often encounter challenges finding wedding attire that accommodates skin tones there are
Mhm.
skin tones where the default nude option often caters to lighter skin tones, leaving darker skin brides marginalized, overlooked, and having to pay extra, which is
Mhm.
complete garbage. I cannot
Right.
believe that. I cannot even believe I'm sharing this story. Thank goodness we're starting to see progress. My
Yes.
gosh.
Yes. Welcome to our world. But not only just
Ah,
across the fashion industry, like you see with the Skims and everything, but also when it comes to makeup, for so long there were not even diverse shades, in foundation, for women. And let me tell you something, I'm not going to walk out the house, looking gray. Okay, because I can't find a shade that match. Okay, or looking crazy. So I welcome any company that is willing to do just a little bit more, so that, because it's going to help their bottom line too. I mean,
course.
that's a win-win, in my case, or just in period, it's a win-win, because more sales, the environment will speak something different. And so I'm with it. But yes, this, out of all things that are happening in the world, wedding dresses with nude options, we have to make sure we address this. Yes, yes.
Sometimes the stories on this show are very random. So welcome to my life. Okay, the fifth story this week comes from Walmart, which has a manager academy that's instilling compassionate leadership among store managers, emphasizing worker well-being and community engagement. So the reason that this is significant is because Walmart is the largest US private employer.
Mm-hmm.
Way it trains its managers impacts millions of folks.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really emphasizing supportive culture, compassion, which has an impact on their employees, many of whom are people of color. So it's just so important to have the managers have the capacity to understand all of the challenges that folks bring to the table for whatever they happen to be, because life can be really hard regardless of who you are, and compassion and management is key.
Yeah. And I feel that when a company shows that they care about their greatest asset, which are the employees, and for so long a lot of corporations got it wrong, it was just about their bottom line. You wouldn't believe the amount of loyalty and just grace that your employees would extend to being a part of an organization that truly cares about them, that they are not just another number. You'd be surprised. And so I commend them. If I had one of those little whistle toots things, I would sound the alarm, right? But I'm glad, because it is so needed, because these employees are not just a number, but they are real people with real stories, with real lives, that are going through real things. They're going through real things. And so whatever we can do, you don't want to have to fight outside the world. Everywhere you go is always a fight, or defending yourself. I'm defending myself because I'm Black, or because I'm gay, or because I don't understand this, or because everybody's defending their position. But if we can all stop, right, and say we all have a human experience that we're going through, and nobody has everything completely figured out. But I'm willing to walk with you, right? We can walk with each other and have one hell of a life. Okay, let's kick some behind. Let's get these numbers up. And I think that any employee would rock with the company that cares about them.
There's some great quotes. Walk with each other and have one hell of a life. I love it. Love it. Love it. Sounds great. Well, I love speaking with a fellow person who's just excited about this stuff. And I can tell that you're really passionate and have a lot of wisdom for us. So thank you so much for being on the show today. How can folks get in touch with you?
Yes. You can follow me on all social media outlets. At Latia Vaughan, LatiaVaughan, or you could put hashtag the Dream Pusher anywhere, and you will find me. Say hi, and I would love to just stay updated on you guys' journey. And I cannot wait to even see your evolution, Bernadette, even with this show.
Thank you.
So this is a beautiful thing. This is work that we're putting here on the earth to help expand people and to help them evolve. So I salute you.
Thank you. I salute you as well. You're doing great work, and you have fantastic energy that I can tell just inspires folks who are around you. So thanks for bringing that to the show today. And folks, this week's call to action is a reminder that it's Women's History Month. So learn about some amazing women by exploring the inductees of the National Women's Hall of Fame. I'm going to put that link in the show notes. You can check out the 2024 class, including its first trans woman, Sandy Stone, and also including Kimberly Crenshaw, who originated the term intersectionality. So learn more about those folks. Latia, you've been amazing. I'll make sure folks can connect with you. And if you don't already get the 5 Things newsletter, subscribe at 5thingsdei.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye.